Shoot. What just happened? Ah! What did I click? Hey. I am. Darn. Monsieur, I think I need your help. I don't know what I did with the wait, is this it? No.
What?
I don't know what happened to StreamYard.
Was the
Oh, there it is. There it is. Here we go.
I mean, why don't you take it out of there?
What do you mean? I was gonna say, please don't close it.
Just leave it at its own.
Wait, it keeps disappearing. Okay, no, it's here. I don't know, something else active, kind of. What is that line from?
The
No, it must be the other one. Now your hand is on my. Okay, that's better. Hey, y'all. I can't even see who is. I am streaming right now. Hey. I am streaming right now on all of my platforms. I'm streaming on my Stitch, my YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Precious Little Ladies Facebook. So wherever you can see me, hey, how you doing? Though when I go to you should go to my Instagram and see if it's live. Can you go to my Instagram and see if it's live? Because it's not showing it's live on my thing, on my phone.
Yeah.
It is? It's live?
Yeah.
Now, can you see how many people?
11, 12.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I don't know what my streaming thing is showing, but it's not showing 12 people. It's a little different.
No, currently.
But I wanted to take some time to spend with you all today. And and just talk, get some updates. As you may know, today is Giving Tuesday, so I started my day off sending out emails, getting donations for Precious Little Ladies Inc. So if you would like to donate, we do have a fundraiser going on Instagram and Facebook, I think, or it might just be Instagram. But also the link is in my Instagram bio and anywhere else. You will find it anywhere else on any of my platforms that I am streaming on. Though I don't know if it's on Twitch. I think if you just looked up Precious Little Ladies on Twitch, then you could donate through there. So I probably should check Twitch and see. But so I'm answering questions. I'm trying to see how am I seeing comments because I can't see them on Instagram. Bear with me. This is some experimenting. There's some experimenting going on here. This is the first time I have live streamed multi-camera or multi-destinations in a while. So this is sort of a test as well. I figured I just jump right into it. So y'all have to let me know if everything is okay on your end, if you could see me, if you could hear me okay. I feel a little, I don't know, blind right now because I'm not seeing on my streaming platform, I am not seeing the comments. So if anyone, okay, wait a minute, let me see. I guess I can pick one. I think there would be less comments coming from, well, no, it says all destinations. So I'm getting comments on YouTube. I'm getting comments on YouTube and through PLL's Facebook page. Oh, this is for me to post. Okay, so this is to post comments. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Let's try this.
Yes.
Okay, so that posted. Now, as far as receiving comments, let's see how that goes. Let's see. Okay, so one question that I do know recently was asked. Well, if you don't know me, which I'm sure if you're seeing this video, you know who I am. My name is Aziza Kabibi, and I am an activist for the protections of women and children, seeking to change the world, y'all. I'm a writer, an author, published author. This is my book, Unashamed, A Life Tainted, volumes 1 and 2. I did initially post this as 2 separate volumes as a digital books, 2 separate digital books on Amazon. And then part 1 and part 2, essentially, volumes 1 and 2. And then I decided to publish them together as one book printed. So this chronicles my life raising my children who were sired by my biological father, and experiencing that, surviving the trauma that came with that, going over how my father, how his abuse of me And me surviving his abuse informed, as a child and as a teenager and as a young adult, informed and contributed to the person that I am today, and the decisions, how it affected the decisions that I made in my life. So that's how I wrote the book. That's why I wrote the book. Initially, it did start off as a form of therapy. I am a big believer in writing out your traumatic experiences if you are unfortunate enough to have had them. Writing about it or recording it in some way, even if the intention is not to let anybody ever read it, but for yourself. It is very cathartic to just put your thoughts and your feelings about the things that happened to you on paper, or now in this case, in the computer or texting on your phone, and doing that because it does help with the healing process. So initially, I started writing the book as a form of therapeutic work. My daughter was in the hospital, my youngest daughter by my father, who had 2 genetic disorders because of the close relations of the genetics. She had 2 genetic disorders and she was in and out of the hospital pretty often. We did have a good time, a good long period where she stayed healthy for a whole year, healthy enough for a whole year, and she didn't have to go to the hospital. But at the time that I started writing Unashamed, well, the manuscript that didn't have a title, that I had no intention of publishing to the public, she had been in the hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks with pneumonia. So I overcame a fear that I had about writing down my thoughts and feelings about the things that I was going through that was caused by me as a child keeping a diary and including the fact that my father was abusing me, and then my brother found the diary and gave it to my dad, and the results of that traumatized me enough to then I did not want to write anymore, just for fear of someone who was not supposed to read it finding the book. Finding what I wrote down. So I had overcome that fear, decided to write as a form of therapy. And then my daughter passed away. She passed away a few months. It was a few months after I started writing. And I stopped writing. I had actually gotten pretty far. I think I got to like 100 pages, 150 pages. And I stopped writing. So I put it down for a while. And then after she passed away and I recovered from what I was going through, my grieving process from losing my daughter, I decided to go to college. Because I was homeschooled. I had not been to school prior. I had sat in on like different classes, just randomly classes and workshops, but I had not been in a structured traditional school system. So homeschooled, 35 years old, with children, working, I think 2 jobs at the time. And I decided I'm going to go to college and I started with getting my GED. I got my GED and then I went to college. And I decided to go for journalism and writing because I did want to hone my writing skills. I only had, maybe if you wanted to average out what my education was from when I was being homeschooled, I would say I had maybe a 5th grade education, but higher in some subjects because my father really focused on like technology and nature. So my knowledge as far as things like that was much higher than what my age was when he was teaching us as children. And going from like a 5th, 6th grade education and now 35 years old and sitting in a college classroom, It was definitely transformative. Anyway, go to school, decide to focus on journalism and my writing, and I took a public speaking class. In the public speaking class, I decided that I was going to use a portion of my manuscript. Remember, it was not necessarily considered a manuscript. It was a piece of literature that I was writing for my mental health. And I decided to take a portion of it and write a speech based on what I was writing that ended up being Unashamed, a Life Tainted. When I gave the speech in my class, it was very challenging. I mean, I got choked up. I got choked up a lot. I have to find that speech. I'm going to find that speech, and maybe one day I'll read it live or a video of it. But at the end of me giving the speech, I made it. I got through it. I think I did pretty well. I had taken a more remedial public speaking class before this public speaking class. So I think I did okay, especially considering the fact that I had to try to disconnect myself from the overwhelming emotions that was bubbling up as I was reading back the things that I had experienced and survived. At the end of my speech, everyone came. I mean, you want to talk about a class being dead silent and think, I'm a 35-year-old woman with, by that time, 5 kids, right? But most of my classmates were young enough to be my children. So I am looking at a classroom full of between 18 and 24-year-olds. And their just mouth dropped open. There was this one girl who was very quiet in the classroom. She usually came in late. She always sat in the back. She didn't say much. She didn't participate. She had not given her speech yet because this was like one of the final projects that we had to submit. Everyone left out, everyone kind of thanked me or commended me. Well, not everyone, but some people for giving my speech and talking about the subject matter that was in my speech. And this one girl who sat in the back comes up to me and she was bawling. She was so emotional, and she thanked me for giving my speech, talking about me surviving sexual abuse from my father, and then confessed to me, opened up to me, and shared that she had also been abused and raped by her father, which then I just saw it all. Now I'm gonna say this. A lot of times when I give presentations, I can feel the energy very strongly of survivors. And I tend to zero in on the women, and some of them have been young men in the crowd or in the audience. And I feel this energy because when you are someone who has survived sexual trauma, your path and your aura has been disrupted. It has been disrupted. And depending on where you are in your healing journey, that would determine the disruption. So, and I do think predators, when we talk about women and men who have been sexually abused, how then it continues the cycle of abuse in their romantic relationships, and predators are drawn to them and things like that. I do think it's because it affects our aura, right? The trauma that we survived has affected our aura, and it is then up to us to heal, make adjustments, transform it into something else. And I'm not saying that you cannot change it back to what it used to be before the trauma. However, you can change it into something better than what is broken and damaged. That being said, everything came together. How she was introverted in class how she did not speak up. She did not speak out. I was actually surprised after she told me that she even had the wherewithal to take a public speaking class, because this is just how introverted she was. She did not participate in conversations. However, hearing my story and when I survived gave her enough strength and courage to then come and share what she experienced with a complete stranger. And I hugged her, and that was the first time that I saw the power that sharing a difficult story can have on those who are listening. And from there, I meditated on it briefly. I think that night, or maybe the following night, like the next day, I could not sleep. And I decided from that point on that my therapeutic piece of literature would then become Unashamed, A Life Tainted. So I hit the ground running, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And this is what it ended up being. So for those of my viewers and my followers who have read it already, who have my book and have read it, I do hope that it has contributed something positive to your life. And for those of you that have not read it, go read it, or you could stay tuned and wait for the audiobook. Though I think the audiobook is going to be a completely different experience from reading, right? Reading and listening to a book are two completely different things. And I'm sure it has a different effect on the brain than than other ways that you take in information. So if I think any books that I have read, like the pages of, they are on my list to listen to, because I do know that it is a different experience. Your brain processes things differently based on if you are more akin to audible learning, visual learning, or I guess if you're left side of the brain, right side of the brain. So I think that would be interesting. And when my audiobook does come out, which the plan is to release it in 2025, which would be the 10th anniversary of me first publishing Unashamed, A Life Tainted. So that's definitely going to happen. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I'm going to keep y'all updated, whether it be through posts, conversations, lives, TikToks, whatever. I will let y'all know when it is available. Okay. I'm going to take the time to answer some questions. So I do have some questions from YouTube. Joe Delaney. Hi, Joe. Will the audio be read by yourself? Yes, I will be reading it. I am reading it. I already started recording it. So yeah, and I understand like more scientific works, them getting someone to read the book, but I do feel like it is a more valuable experience when it is an or even fiction work. Of course, other people can be the voice on the audiobook. I think that's fine, because it's about the fictional character having a voice, not necessarily the author. So, but I feel like with memoirs and biographies that it's a more enriching experience if you hear the author reading it. Now, there is one book that I read called shoot, I can't even access my Audible right now. Boo, what was that book I was reading? I was listening to with the black guy. What's his name? David?
It wasn't a white guy?
No. What was his name? You Can't Hurt Me. There's a book called You Can't Hurt Me. And it is the biography or the memoir of a Navy SEAL. And his story is pretty popular, though I had not heard about it until I got the audiobook from Audible. And apparently he initially self-published his original book You Can't Hurt Me. Look it up. He published his original book with my same distributor and publisher, Book Baby. So that was exciting to see someone who was self-published and then became like a New York Times bestseller and has this like audiobook that won all of these awards. Now he had someone read the audiobook version. However, you did still hear his voice because between certain chapters, there was kind of like a podcast interview between the author and the person who was reading the book. So I do think that, yeah, Joe, I agree with you. Well, you're agreeing with me. A biography, it is. I enjoy it better when it's read by the author. So, Joshua, hi Joshua, from YouTube, was writing the book helpful in closure of your abuse? That word closure. I don't know if that could even apply to my experience in my life because I have children that came out of the abuse. So it's difficult to say that there's absolute closure. Did it help me to heal? Has it helped in my healing journey writing the book? Yes, definitely. It definitely has. When it was just a therapeutic piece of literature, yes, it was helpful. And I saw that and I was encouraged to keep writing until then my daughter passed away. And it's something because even though I stopped writing, what ended up being Unashamed, I then took to blogging and started, once I got out of my grief depression, I started blogging my experience with losing my daughter. And it was a blog called Losing My Pink Cocoa. And I had quite a few readers who had also lost children and were grieving losing their children. And because my daughter had a disease called spinal muscular atrophy, I had a lot of parents who had children who had spinal muscular atrophy that had passed away or was about to pass away. And they said it was very helpful. My blog was very helpful in preparing or knowing that they weren't unique in what their experience with losing their child was. So yeah, it has helped. Writing Unashamed has helped in my healing process because it allowed me to look at what I went through from a more objective perspective. So there was a lot of introspection in that process. And, they say that spell, like there's spelling a word is actually spell casting, like, magic affecting the energies. And I can attest to the fact that that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. It was almost as if, as I was writing down my feelings about surviving the abuse that I went through, they poured through my fingertips onto the white digital page. And it was so cathartic and such a relief, that process, that I just continued to do it. And some of the times I believe I was like in trance state writing. Like I remember once I got through the first part, mind you, I'm doing this while I am completing 17 credits in a semester of college. I would go into my car and just sit in my car for hours. I mean, my kids, they would still blow up my phone, ask me questions and stuff, but sit in my car for hours just writing. And it was almost like a trance state because everything was just pouring out. And then once I reviewed what I wrote, it wasn't from such an emotionally sad and angry place. And it just seemed, it made sense. It made things make sense. So that was my experience. I think writing about the traumatic experiences that you have survived helps you to make sense of it. And I think you'll find that there are some thoughts and feelings that you have been keeping bottled up for fear of wanting to trigger traumatic memories and not wanting to feel the pain that comes along with those traumatic memories, that when you put it on paper, you send that energy there. You send it there, whether it be paper or a digital page. Let's just use paper to cover it all. You send it there, and that's where it is, and it lives there. And then you can process it in a different way, and you tend to unlock certain things that were locked before, and it really helps to encourage you moving on to the next step. Queen, what's up? What's up? What do men do this? Why do men do this? Oh, what's up, Miss Kabibi? Hi, Queen. How you doing? Why do men do this? Girl or guy? I don't. You gotta ask them. You gotta ask them, because I was thinking about that last night. So I had an incident. Okay, story time. Recent story time. First, I'm going to do a shout out to my Instagram viewers. If you don't mind me asking, how old was your daughter when she passed away? Truly, Shay B. She was 9 years old when she passed away. Tina Child, you give me strength. My daughter and I will get justice in Jesus' name. Yes. You got to keep that attitude, because, man, the way the world is set up, the way things are set up, I swear it's like certain things are orchestrated to just try to break you, even when you know that you are justified, even though you know the truth. And you have to be resilient. Definitely have to be resilient. Truly, Shay, I really hope you can find the speech and share it with us. Yeah, and you know what? I think I know where it is, right? I think it's in storage, because I have all of my different, what they call it, projects, essays in boxes in storage. And I started pulling them out because I was looking back at them for inspiration. So yes, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it and share it. How can you be reached through speaking engagements? Roussel.Newell. You can DM me. You can DM me one. I do know with Instagram and their kind of spam filter thing, sometimes I don't get the messages. But if you can't reach me through DM, you can email me at Aziza, not at Aziza, but my email address is aziza@azizakibibi.com. So you can do it there. Reach me there. Okay, so now my story time. And this thought has been triggered by Queen's question on why do men do this? I went to Walgreens yesterday morning, dropped my son Uriel off at school, and needed to go to the pharmacy. So I stopped in the pharmacy, got my little stuff, paid for it, and a guy walks in. He seemed, I don't know, he was kind of hood, kind of average, right? So I'm in East Orange, New Jersey. I mean, that can't be denied. The way he was dressed, the pants, he had on these gray sweatpants, and it's something when someone, okay, I don't want to give it away, but I remembered his clothes. A lot of times when a situation affects me that involves another person, what they have on really sticks in my head. He had on like a trapper hat, those ones where the things hang on the side of your ears to keep your ears warm, a puffer jacket that was just zipped down to here, so it wasn't zipped all the way up. He had on gray sweatpants and plaid underwear, and the gray sweatpants kind of had hung off of his ass. So that's what I was saying, like, okay, he's like a local hood guy, like average. So he comes into Walgreens. I'm at the cash register. He comes into Walgreens, and what I think he's going to do, which most people do when they just come to the cash register and stand there, is I thought he was going to order cigarettes, because they have to speak directly to the cashier to get the cigarettes because they're behind the cashier. Okay. So he's there, and I'm thinking, okay, well, he's standing in the front of the line. That's what he's waiting to do. He doesn't do that. There is another guy behind me who's supposed to be next. I know the cashier. I'm in Walgreens enough where I know the cashier. Okay, so we're having our small talk. So this guy who comes in, he interrupts and he says, good morning, right? The cashier says, good morning. I said, good morning. He said to me, you are beautiful. I'm not rude. I said, thank you. Thank you. And that was it. I took my stuff and I left. Now, at that moment, for some reason, after I said thank you, he started to give me the heebie-jeebies. I walked past him, went out the door, and I thought, oh, shit, this guy's going to follow me. He followed me. Miss, excuse me. Can I ask you one question? Now, he's saying, excuse me, can I ask you a question? There's a guy in front of me who is also walking. I pick up my pace in the parking lot, walking towards my car, get up to the guy that was in front of me. And because the guy behind me who's following me is saying, excuse me, can I ask you a question? The guy that was in front of me also turned around because he assumed that this guy was talking to him. Then he was like, excuse me, miss, can I ask you a question? I'm like, no, you can't. I'm good. I'm in a rush. Come on, let me just ask you one question. Can I just ask you one question? No, sir, I already said no. I cannot talk right now. I can't. No, come on. Let me just ask you one question. Yo, he was so persistent. He follows me to my car. I rush. I get into my car, close the door. He comes up to the window and starts knocking on the window and telling me to roll. Just one question. So by that time, and then he kept rubbing his eyes like this. So then by that time, I'm like, okay, is this a homeless guy? Maybe his question he wants to ask me is, can I get $1? But then his energy alone was just like, like just get away. That's all I thought. Just get away. And I did look in his hand because my thought is that, well, this is just glass and metal. It's taking me time to start my car, which now I think about it, I should have started it with the automatic starter. Had to start the car. So I looked in his hand to make sure he didn't have a gun. Because, of course, my windows aren't bulletproof. Start my car, looked at his hand to see if he had a gun. He had a cell phone, an iPhone. Yes, at least a 16, because I saw the back of the. So I'm like, well, if he's carrying an iPhone 16, looks like a Pro Max because it's big, he must not be homeless. So all of these thoughts, something how quick thoughts flash through your mind. So all of these thoughts are flashing through my mind, and I'm just like, I need to go. I just need to go. So, Queen, the reason why I brought this up pertaining to your question, thinking about this incident, I was thinking about the difference between men and women and how men are driven by the head between their legs, the head with no brain, how much they're driven by the head with no brain, and how other men in general, because I thought, look, I was not trying to act cool. I wasn't trying to act crazy, but I definitely picked up my pace. I zoomed past the guy that was in front of me. And I thought, like, as persistent as this guy was coming at me and me telling him, no, I don't want to talk to you. Why didn't the other guy say, man, she says she didn't want to talk? Like, why didn't he come and interrupt? Okay, well, that, I guess that's neither here nor there. But I do feel like that men are more susceptible to the thoughts that are created by their head with no brain. I don't know why. And that being the case, because those sexual feelings are so over rampant in them, they tend to not think about the consequences or not even care about the consequences or what their actions will do to another person. And in, yes, many cases, if it's a violent action, it actually does arouse them. So Yeah, all of those things. I think it's a combination of all of those things. Like, why do men do this? That's just a biological difference. I did a video on female sexual abusers. And in preparing for that video, I did look back at my own studies when I in psychology, and did some more research on why is there such a difference in prevalence between female abusers and male sexual abusers, sexual offenders. And the biggest reason, the most glaring reason, was because women sexually offend for different reasons than men. For men, it's mostly sexual gratification or some kind of enforcing their power, which then comes along with sexual gratification. But for women, they're usually doing it. They're saying that it's more likely that a woman will sexually abuse, one, because she has been abused herself. And for the women that sexually abuse, who have also been abused, it has been found that they abuse girls more. So one, she has been sexually abused herself. Two, she is being coerced by a man. It's usually because she is being told to do it by a man, being encouraged, being threatened, and it's coming from more of a place of anger or from like a place of being threatened or feeling like she has no other choice. And then the third reason is anger. They say that women who have abused children, it has been done from a place of anger and revenge. So if they are angry at the child or the child irks them, I've heard that term so much in my own life, then they use sexual abuse as a form of punishment. Where men, the reasons and the 90% of most sexual assaults of any form are committed by men. Now, we do have to take into account that there is a differential due to reporting. Boys are less likely to report sexual abuse than girls are. Therefore, or females are more likely to report sexual abuse than males are because of the cultural expectations and societal standards. So you have less reports of sexual abuse from men. So a lot more men who are being sexually abused, or a lot more boys who are being sexually abused, you don't know about it because it's not being reported. However, let's just assume, because even though 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys have been molested before they turn 18, the Federal Bureau of Investigations estimates, because of the lack of reporting, that at least 50% of children are being sexually abused in one way or another. So I think that it is safe to say that that I would, if I had to, I would say that the numbers that are reported about on boys and men being abused would probably be increased, maybe I think by about 25% realistically, because then we have to look at the perpetrators. Now, interestingly enough, most boys and men who have reported being abused, they are reporting that a man abused them. So there. So then there's that. I don't know. At the end of the day, why do men do this? Girl, I wish. I wish I knew. And the best thing we could do is try to ask some of them, which is why I know I did do a YouTube video a little while ago about me wanting to go and visit my father in prison. And it came with a lot of backlash. Like, a lot of people, and that's their experience and that's their opinion, and I get it, are like, oh, well, you have Stockholm syndrome if you want to see him again after what he did, and what it is that you really do love him, and blah, blah. And it's like, nah, love. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is only because I would like to ask him some very poignant questions, like, why did you do this? Like, get in his head and figure out, on a psychological level why men offend sexually. I do think that it has a lot to do with power. I think the male ego and their drive for power, which in many ways it's not a bad thing, but when it is misplaced, yes, it could be very destructive. I think that's part of it. I think the desire to dominate someone, and children are very easily dominated. You can keep them quiet. They're like easy prey. Children are easy prey. They're vulnerable because they're easy prey. And you just have these punks, cowards out there that rather than deal with someone that is somewhat on their level and face rejection, they just figure they'll just force someone who really can't put up a fight and manipulate them. So, and I mean, there's a whole lot of other things that we don't fully understand about the human experience that has to do with energies and our spiritual state and how that affects the decisions that we make, because at the end of the day, these are just decisions that we make. A lot of people have tried to say and ask me, well, my father had mental health issues and he clearly was insane. And I'm like, those are little band-aids that you are trying to put on a freaking broken bone gashing wound. I don't subscribe to the idea of mental health issues. While his behaviors may be the antithesis of what is considered normal mental functioning, he was functioning quite normally on a regular basis and had a lot of people fooled. So I truly believe, and I mean, it's coming from a person that was with him, around him most of the time for 24 years. There wasn't a glitch. Like, there was no glitch. He didn't like have a twitching eye or anything like that. Like, there was nothing. He was very calculative. He was very intelligent. He was very charismatic. And he just wanted to get what he wanted. He was, for lack of a better word, he was a deviant freak. He was just a deviant freak and wanted to try every sexual experience that he could. And even it's funny because now, like with the whole Diddy thing, right? Diddy has filed a good amount of appeals apparently and has been denied. I heard recently on the news, I think a couple of days ago, he was denied again, as well he should have been. But when it started coming out that there were survivors as young as 9 years old, alleged survivors of Diddy and his sexual deviances, as young as 9 years old, a lot of people was like, there's no way. Okay, so you all said that there's no way he beat up Cassie. Then you see videos. Okay, well, there's no way he could have been raping people. And then you get more and more people coming out. There's no way it was with men, but then there's Johnson & Johnson baby oil. So it's like, well, every stage you're getting more and more proof that's proving that he did these things. But this is one thing that I don't understand. For those people that say that Diddy has not touched children, he couldn't have gone that far. What you don't understand about people with, I'm going to call it a sexual dysfunction. I do believe that it is a sexual dysfunction and a sexual addiction, because when you are chasing this high of, busting a nut, sexual gratification all the time. And I mean, my father, he had sex all the time. When that has become such a major part of your life, it could get boring. It could get boring. And once you've had every beautiful woman, once you've had every model, once you've had every actress, once you've dated all of these things and you've had it, on the roof and in the shower and in the pool and in public, and once you've done it all, then you just go on to the next thing. At the same time, just because you like one thing does not mean that you are not interested in another thing. So I don't understand the logic behind people who have been saying, well, he had beautiful women and he had models and he dated Cassie, so why would he want a child? It's different. It's different. And it's a way to assert power, because not only are you asserting this power over someone that cannot defend themselves, you're also getting other people, you're asserting your power on the other people who are essentially enabling you, because clearly there are witnesses, and he asserted his power over them by making them not say or do anything, or making them participate, or whatever. It's all about asserting power, which in and of itself gives sexual gratification to men. It's just, humans are very complicated creatures. So I'm gonna go back to some of the comments. So YouTube comments. Betty Jenkins said, yuck. How can a man be a degenerate and expect a pure virgin? What prompts that mindset? You got some good questions. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. Joe Delaney, has your father ever admitted his errors or asked for your forgiveness? I asked because I wonder if he would answer your question. Okay, y'all want to hear something? Before I answer that question, I'm going to play something for y'all. Let's see. I'm going to pull it up. It's a song. Oh, crap. I spelled that wrong. Where is it? I thought I had it. Oh, no. Apology. Y'all have to tell me what y'all think about this. And I hope you can hear it enough.
From behind the four walls of this prison, where I am permanently incarcerated, this is an apology letter to my daughter, Aziza. Aziza, please forgive me. I am sorry.
What?
I'm sorry, please forgive me, Aziza. Forgive me, oh little Aziza. Don't know what happened, Aziza. Aziza, 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 my daughter. Aziza, Aziza, forgive me. Aziza, 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 forgive me.
Can you look at
My dear daughter Aziza, I am so sorry it took so long to apologize to you. But I believe that it is better late than never. Aziza, you know that I've always loved you, cherished you, and worshipped you. When you were born in 1977, on that beautiful day in September, I had a dream. You were going to be a goddess designed to save many. I drew you closer to me to protect you and to guide you. Many became jealous of my special love for you. I truly don't know what happened when that demon took over my thinking and I started drifting to you sexually.
Okay. So that song, I'm going to answer your question, Joe. That song was called Apology from Prison by a Ghanaian artist named Black Rasta. It is available on Apple Music. and other music streaming platforms. But Black Rasta, who is a Ghanaian reggae artist, and also he's a radio show host, apparently pretty popular in Ghana, Nigeria. He read my story, saw my story, and decided to write a song from the perspective of my father in prison. And that is what you was just listening to. So if you want to listen to the whole thing, I would love to hear your input on it. Definitely DM me on your thoughts. Anybody else I've played it for got mixed. Mostly everybody laughs. When I first played it for Arish, she like cracked up. I played it for my friend James. He was like, "What?" He started laughing. I played it for another friend, and she was just pissed. She was just pissed because she was like, "Wait a minute, how dare he try to give you an apology from your father?" He had never, just to be clear, Black Rasta has never spoken to my father. He's never visited him. He's never interacted with him in any way, as far as what he told me, because he did reach out to me. So I don't know what inspired him to write something from that perspective. Now, going back to your question, has your father ever admitted his error or asked for your forgiveness? One time he did. Not long after I got away from him, he was still free and out. My sisters and I had not yet reported him. I got a phone call on my number that was unpublished so that he could not locate me. And I answered the phone. I got my kids back from foster care. We're just at home. Answered the phone, and it was his voice. He said, "Aziza." I said, "Hello?" He was like, "Yeah, it's a SWAT." He didn't say he called. He did not refer to himself as my father, nothing. He just said it's a SWAT. My first question was, how the hell did you get my number? Turns out his sister, my Aunt Janine, who I was still in communication with, gave it to him. Don't know what she was thinking, but okay, she did that there. He starts apologizing. "I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. Yes, I see the error in my ways. I can't believe I hurt you that way." Now, he did not specify in what way. So he could have been taught. I mean, the ways that my father has hurt me, like, runs the gamut. He's probably done everything that you could possibly think of, and then worse, because it's just too sick for a regular person to even think of. So he just said he apologized for hurting me, he didn't specify anything. And I'm sitting there on the phone thinking, I think you forgot that I am your daughter, and I have heard you on the phone with various women, including my mother, giving the same spiel every time they decided to just be like, "F you, I'm not dealing with you anymore." Well, my mom never really said that, but when he would come and apologize, he sounded really, solemn and gentle and just, oh my gosh, and so convincing. But the whole time I'm on the phone, I'm like, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. At the same time, being the objective, introspective person that I am, I did think, but what if he is sorry? But yeah, no, he wasn't specifying anything. I'm like, okay. So I just sat there and I listened. Then he said, "But I'm still in love with you, and I want us to be together, and I want to really marry you." I said, click, changed my number, and started the process of moving. So clearly he was not sorry. Clearly he thought that he could manipulate me in some way. And clearly he was somewhat delusional, because for him to still think that he could have any kind of normal relationship with me in any way other than father and daughter, which honestly was not, it just wasn't right. There's no way that could be reconciled. There was no way. That just didn't exist. But for him to then try and think that he could be like, oh, but we could move forward as lovers. What the? Yeah, it was very disturbing. And clearly he had not changed. Now, I haven't spoken about this much publicly, but I have connected with the detective that essentially caught my father, like investigated and searched for him for a year and caught him. And he was talking to me about my father's perspective on him abusing me and my sisters. And I was just like, huh. He convinced himself of his own BS. So, more on that at another time. Let's go back to the comments. Joshua Hall, your father was selfish and was only thinking of you, thinking about himself. Yes, he was. But Joe, you asked, he did this to your sisters too, I thought. Yes, he did. 5 girls in total. Betty Jenkins, no thanks. Keep your song. Yeah, it was. I'm all for like creative expression, and it's like, but I don't know what is the thought process behind coming from that perspective. There are many vantage points you can tell a story from. What makes you choose that? I think it's kind of arrogant, yes. But I would like to know, like, is it because you're a sympathizer? I did kind of wonder that. Not sure. Let's see. So some Instagram questions. Shahan, some feel entitled. Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I think the male species does feel entitled. It's not just some. I think all feel entitled. However, some have control over how they respond to that feeling. Maybe they can rationalize that no, just because they may feel entitled doesn't mean that they are entitled. So, yeah. But yeah, because men are afraid of being seen as weak. Sad. True. Let's see. Imani. Hello, Imani. The real sprinkle of kindness. Wow. Tenny Marie. How do you manage to continue to fearlessly tell? I'm very mission oriented. And I know the positive impact that me sharing my story has on the public, other survivors, children, predators. I especially like predators. I feel when I was writing my book, my friend who helped me through a portion of it by giving me kind of like an interview and asked me questions to try to kind of tighten and edit down my book. He said to me, right, and he's a man, and I love him for his honesty and his candor when it comes to talking about the male way of thinking. He said, but aren't you concerned there are going to be some men, some pedophiles that are going to read the rawness of your book and beat their meat to it? And I was like, yeah, I thought about that, but you know what? I'd rather them do that than to actually put their thoughts and fantasies into action and manifest it. So yes, I know predators are hearing my story, and all I could do is hope that it is cautionary for them. Now, of course, some predators think that they are slick enough to say, oh, well, now I know what to look out for, and I'm going to use, hey, boo.
Yeah.
Say hi to the people.
Hello.
They didn't see you there, but okay.
Hello.
It's like that. Like,
They're going.
what did you?
They're going to use the mistakes that my father made to then tighten up their game. I'm sure there are a few that are like that as well. However, I do think that there are more that are like a little scared because predators depend on their victims being silent. and they depend on other survivors being silent and not telling all of the little details and the nuances and the techniques. And they're dependent on that. They're dependent on people not being comfortable with talking about this subject. And even if it's not consciously depending, look, a shadow is a shadow. And if someone who's trying to hide in the shadow sees a shadow, they're going to get under it. They don't care what's forming that shadow whatsoever. So when I am far enough along my healing journey where I could separate the remnants of emotional pain that is associated to some of the things that I experienced, I could recall the memories and not be affected as if they are present, and retell and share everything that has to do with the things that happened to me, because I know that the positive effects outweighs any discomfort that I may feel. And that fuels me and it encourages me. So that's why I continue to do it. And I stay focused. When I talk about it, I definitely stay focused. I see things from different perspectives. And I just do what I have to do. I just do what I have to do. I would not say thank you if I appear fearless, but I'm not. I struggle with feelings of fear enough that it has affected other aspects of my life, not particularly pertaining to me surviving, but because so many of the choices that I have had to make through the course of my life, especially as a child, it makes me cautious. Like, I tend to overthink choices. If I am posed with options, I have to really analyze what those options are before I can make a decision. And it ends up stagnating me. That is something that I am working through now. So, that is one way how it's completely unrelated to sex, sexuality, gender, completely unrelated. That is how far childhood sexual trauma can affect your everyday life. Because I really overanalyze things. If I'm faced with a decision to make, I have to think about it and think about it, because I know that the results of my decisions could have a huge lasting impact on the people that I love. And most of that is from having to make difficult decisions as a child and as a teenager, and even as a young adult, because, I had these children that I was responsible for their lives, and every choice that I made and every move that I made could completely affect who they were going to be. So yeah, I can be kind of hard on myself with that. So my dear, I wish I was fearless, but I have learned to manage my fear, and I'm learning how to manage it better. And I mean, I know that, bravery is not the absence of fear. It is doing what you have to do in spite of that fear. So yeah, for any of you out there who feel fear, who are afraid to speak out or speak up, just know that for those that have reached a point where they can speak up, they're still feeling that fear. That fear is still there. I still feel, every time I go live, I get nervous. I'm sweating, and but I do what I have to do in spite of the fear that I am feeling and the nervousness that I am feeling. So, and then eventually, you kind of get used to the process. But definitely, it's every time I go out on stage, yeah, there's some fear. I have to jump up and down and breathe in and out deeply and get myself pumped and revved up, because I know there's a job to be done, and I do not want the feelings that I'm feeling, the feelings of fear, to inhibit the job that I'm there to do. So, Shahan, and Broccoli, you basically said that he has no shame, he'll never be sorry. I don't think so. I mean, my father had talking about Diddy freaking applying appeal after appeal. My father has still been appealing his conviction, still, even as recently as 2020. Last I checked, he filed an appeal in 2020. I don't know what the decision was. I highly doubt that the decision was to move forward in anything, but apparently he was trying to claim that the prosecutor mishandled evidence. So he wanted to appeal the conviction, and it's just like, dude, come on now.
He punches the air every time.
Yeah. If y'all didn't hear her, Arish says he punches the air every time. Okay. Butterfly 00185. I love your books. Are you writing anymore? Yes, I am. Actually, there are 2 in the works. But you know, that's the thing when you're like a multi-hyphenate or a creative. It's hard to like sit down and focus on one thing. So it's interesting. I was thinking last night, like I need to get back to the one book that I think I've gotten the furthest in. Is called The Hump, A Guide to Getting Over It. And it's speaking more from, I guess you can call it a self-help book. Isn't there another term for that now? Like, I think self-help has been kind of played out. I don't know what it is, self-teaching. Anyway, but it's mostly anecdotal. So it still goes into other aspects of my life and my experiences and my healing process, like a memoir, like Unashamed has done, but it highlights more on the lessons that I learned and how you can apply those lessons to your own life. So when is it going to be released? Stay tuned. Let's just say that. Let's get the audiobook of Unashamed out first, and then I'll get back to writing The Hump. I found out about your book on Hot 97 radio riding to work. Really? Okay, Hot 97, not 105.1, because I do know I was on the Breakfast Club one morning and Charlemagne really bigged up my book. I mean, a couple of times he like put out there like it should be made into a movie. He ordered it. He helped to promote it in the moment. And a lot of people reached out then. And I do know when the case, no, that was WBLS, I think. Michael Baisden was on WBLS, right? When my father's case was really like out there, he reported on it as well. The Real Sprinkle of Kindness. Hi. Aw, Bella, there is something so honest yet measured and professional about how you speak. Adore you, badass woman. Mwah! Thank you for that. You and your babies are all so cute. I know they're a trip, right? They're a trip. Thank you again. Ooh, Uriel. Roussel says your son is very handsome and you are amazing. Muchos gracias. He didn't hear that?
No, I said you don't need to know that.
I truly love you. You are a strong woman. Wow, he appealed it. Yeah, multiple times. His appeals have been denied, but he keeps trying. Hey, I guess he can. Let's see. Okay, let's go back to some YouTube questions. Did he also plant diary?
Yeah, somebody called you handsome.
She can't hear you.
Thank you.
That wasn't any better.
Thank you.
I swear to God, with all the same volume.
Please, bro.
Oh my gosh. So, who said it? Roussel. That was Uriel saying thank you for the compliment.
Can you give me some crumble, please?
Someone?
Some crumble, please.
Crumble cookies.
Please,
No,
please.
yeah.
My birthday is in like 5 days.
That bitch is like
Can you
$30.
please
Wait,
take
what
me?
cake do you
I
want?
don't want cake. I don't eat cake. You
Oh
don't
my
eat cake.
God.
So you're saying you want crumble cookies for your birthday?
No, I want crumble cookies now.
For your birthday.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sure. Yeah. If you get it for me now, then you won't have to give me nothing for my birthday.
Okay, sidebar, y'all. What do y'all think about crumble cookies?
Let's go!
anything yet.
Sidebar, household Gen Z stuff. Uriel is about to turn 17. He wants he wants me to buy him
Oh my
crumble
God,
cookies
that's
just
crazy.
before. I know, right? Damn, he's a whole grown
I know.
type person, like, gosh, almost. I've had crumble cookies one time, and you want to know what they tasted like to me? Stale muffin tops.
You have to put them in the microwave.
No, don't. Wait, you talking about when I got them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
You have to go get put them in the microwave.
we got them from a crumble in North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina, that's why.
That wasn't it. It was just
actually,
no.
they'll be better than here.
Obviously not.
Obviously, yes.
Mine was
But
amazing, so I need some crumble.
you're a teen. Everything is amazing to you.
Joe says crumble cookies are huge, like cakes. Yeah, I've had them
They're
before,
very big.
but
They
this
don't
is
even
the
have
thing.
any
good.
good ones.
Yes, this week's flavors are amazing. They have
This week's flavors. Oh, they changed flavors.
Yes. This week we got cookies and cream. Obviously, I gotta get that. They got honey bun, carrot cake, Jimmy Fallon's brownie. They got
They don't have no carrot cake.
no carrot cake, caramel, something, whatever.
Toffee,
Toffee,
whatever.
caramel toffee cake. Yes. They got strawberry crinkle. They got
What is strawberry?
Mind you, his mother is a chef.
It's just chop. Are you gonna?
Mom,
no,
you don't
I'm not even
bake,
gonna
though.
say. Yeah, you don't.
Like you bake, but you don't bake. You bake like a regular mom.
Yeah.
What?
You cook like a chef, but you don't bake like a chef. You bake like.
Okay, when I say bake like a regular mom, I'm saying as often as like regular moms bake is as often as you bake.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I bake a lot less now because of my schedule.
So case in point.
But I'm talking about. But it's his birthday.
Okay, that's perfect.
You know what? Whatever. I'll get the crumble. You'll get the crumble. I mean, so you don't want a birthday cake?
No, I've had birthday cake for 2 years.
Oh my
That's
God.
not true.
Oh
Dan,
my
no,
God.
he got birthday cookies last year because he
I got
particularly wanted cookies
I got
instead of a
Dairy Queen
cake.
That's just a really chewy cake.
And I got
All
Dairy-
individualized.
cookies. And I got Dairy Queen the year before that. Dairy Queen Papa John's.
Didn't we really? I didn't make you a
Why
cake?
does everybody keep thinking they're
She
eating cake?
definitely made you something.
For my 15th, I came out of the living room. I said, "Can you just order me Dairy Queen Papa John's?" That's exactly what I said. You said, "Okay." It was like $40.
That's lovely for you.
I could have sworn.
That was my 14th. You gave
I
me
mean,
that
now I
order.
can't even think of what the cake
For my
I made.
14th,
Yeah.
you gave me that order cake.
Can you get me a cup of
Opportunity
water,
to slip
please?
Away from me like that.
What'd you say?
I'm gonna just secretly bite your cookies.
No, you're
Oh,
not.
wow.
Where's your you say can I get
Yeah,
your, can I get your what?
eat them all.
Water, some water.
You won't be able to eat them all, so.
Roussel said to tell you you're welcome.
Welcome for what?
We're calling you handsome.
Oh, that's her?
Yeah.
Can I see her?
Oh, now you want to get.
No, actually, she doesn't have a profile picture.
Thank you.
Oh my God. He gave sexy face, didn't he? Yeah.
All right, so mother, we're gonna go. Okay.
Go.
Yeah.
Where is the closest crumble?
Union.
In New Jersey.
Union.
It's on
Oh,
Route 22 by
Union.
Chick-fil-A.
Oh,
on that shitty
yeah.
ass highway. Freeway,
Please,
whatever.
come on. She's-
I
first of all-
hate
first of
driving
all,
down
she's
there.
on
Oh my
live.
God.
And secondly,
Okay.
why are you trying to downplay my crumble cookie? I don't like
I'm not
Okay,
downplaying it.
when are you going on your birthday date?
on my birthday. My birthday's next Thursday.
So on your birthday, we're going to crumble.
No, crumble's just right now. Talking about I want crumble today.
No, I'm not. I mean, clearly I'm not going to Route 22 today.
No.
But if
You
you
don't
was
want
to
crumble?
do,
Yes, you will.
but how about if it was DoorDash? DoorDash doesn't deliver from
They
Route
do,
22.
they
Oh,
do.
you're saying you would just particularly want to go there.
Yeah, you can if you want to order, you can order, sure. But it's just I don't know if I gotta check. I gotta see.
Okay.
Yeah, we can order it.
Okay, you're distracting me.
All right.
That's what
Okay, sidebar done.
North Carolina. I ordered mine.
Okay, let's catch up on some comments. Journey with Tiffany, you're so brave and are saving so many lives. I really hope so. I really hope so, Tiffany, because I think so. A pebble right? I really take the analogy of you drop a pebble into a vast body of water, and as the ripples may start small, but then they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I look at the work that I do from that perspective. It may just be a pebble. I'm one person, you know. It may just be I may just be a pebble, but oh, you put ice in it. Thank you. But I do believe that my voice will encourage other voices and will have an affecting change on the world and people's behaviors. So when I talk about Precious Little Ladies Inc., which is the logo that you see in the top right corner, is the organization that I started in response to my own experience and my mother's experience with my father, and also my experience even after escaping him and raising my children, and having difficulty finding resources and having challenges speaking to people in positions of power that could have helped me. But once they heard what many people consider taboo about what I went through, they completely shut down. Excuse me, I need to. And I remember, so along with everything else that my father did to me, he stole my identity. He used my social security number, as well as my brother's and one of my, well, I think my sister's social security number kind of got mixed up, or her name got mixed up with stuff, to open up phone lines, credit cards, you know, run up different lines of credit. And I was left with the damage. So, of course, being a single mom of 4 children at the time, of course, I couldn't afford to pay credit card and phone bills. And, you know, he freaking bought phones for his girlfriends in my name, for people that he worked with in my name. And of course, because they wasn't paying for it, they was just like, hey, whatever. And he just left all of that just in the open and just completely. So now I've escaped him. My credit score was just shot. It was just shot. So along with all of the psychological, physical, and sexual abuse, there was also financial abuse. Okay. And I'm not the only one he did that to. And he did not only do it to family. He also did it to other women that he dated. That being said, as I went through building up my my credit, and I was in and out of all kinds of filings with courts, trying to say this was not mine, having to show proof that it was my father who did this. And, you know, it was a lot. It was a lot. One creditor required me to go to the police to report that my father had stolen my identity, opened up cards, blah, blah, blah. The police, they didn't do anything. That's a whole other story. It turned out that the lieutenant at the time happened to be my father's best friend, who was, at the time when my father was free, was just an officer. So when he saw me came in, he was just like, no, I'm not doing anything. We're not doing anything. And then me still kind of being new to this whole judicial process, being intimidated, I didn't think, oh, well, if a lieutenant doesn't do anything, then you go to his superior. Like, I wasn't there. I saw this guy. I was intimidated. He told me he was not going to take the report. He would not allow any other officer to take the report. I accepted what he said and I moved on. So the next step was to file an Oprah request. And I'm chronicling all of this process because when I talk about Precious Little Ladies Inc. and navigating the process of trying to normalize my life, live a normal life, part of that was getting birth certificates and social security numbers for my children, because of course my father delivered them at home and their births wasn't reported. Now, when they got taken from me and put into foster care, part of the parenting plan that what is now called DCP&P puts a parent through when they take the custody of the child is essentially like it's a plan saying that the parent, in order to reunify with their child, they have to achieve all of these goals. And one of the goals they put on my plan was that I had to get birth certificates and social security numbers for my children. Okay. When I was going through that process of doing that, there was no process. There was no process. And it took months, and I had to talk to different people at different levels and get them on my side and break down and cry. And, you know, there was a lot of doors closed in my face, and I had to just keep banging on the next door, keep banging on the next door. So there were things, there are procedures that I feel like the general public just doesn't know. And because we don't know those procedures when navigating some very basic things in life, it's intimidating and it weakens us. So one of the things that PLL does is that we are structuring information that teaches basic procedures like reporting the abuse of a child or reporting sexual assault. A lot of people don't know that you don't just go to the police. You're supposed to actually go to a detective and ask for the special victims unit, or you go directly to the county prosecutor. And many cases aren't being seen and heard because many people are just going to a police officer, and it's getting lost in the shuffle of all of the other crimes that are committed and being reported on. Okay, so now that I have said all of that, after my father's friend blocked me from making a police report about my father stealing my identity, the next option was for me to make an Oprah request. Now, an Oprah request is something that you can do in municipalities or basically anywhere in government where you will request certain information that is made available to the public. So one of the jobs that I have is I am the board of the East Orange Cannabis. I am the board chair of the East Orange Cannabis Board. And as a government board, everything has to be above board. Everything has to be available. If someone wants to find information associated to any government actions, they then would put in an Oprah request. And Oprah stands for Open Public. What is it? Well, can you look it up real quick? It's Open Public Something Act. So it is a specific act for that allows an Oprah request. Open Public. Damn, what does the R stand for? It's like on the tip of my tongue because I know this because I talk about this often.
Open Public Records Act.
Okay, Open Public Records Act, right. So if the public or general population wants to go and get public information, they would go to their local city or county clerk and submit a search, submit an Oprah request. So, okay. Now, this was twofold. Two reasons why I had to go do this. One, I needed to get proof, see if there was any public record of my father's purchasing our house in East Orange, because I had to prove that I lived there at the time that he had started abusing my social security number. So that was one. The second reason was actually to contribute to the investigation of the case against him for his abuse of me. I had to help prove that I was in the city and living in the city of East Orange, and my father was my sole source of income, food, shelter, in order to file for VCCO, right? Victims Crimes Compensation Board. So I had to make an Oprah request for this. Go to City Hall, East Orange City Hall, City Clerk's office. And part of the Oprah request application is it asks you, why are you making the request? When I handed my application with my reason why, which of course included because my father sexually abused me, kept me out of the system, kept me unsocialized. I don't have access to this stuff, and I need this information because of this case and that case and blah, blah, blah. I handed it to the lady. She reads it. She said, I didn't need to know all of this. Who wants to hear about people being sexually abused?
Yes, I do.
This is a woman. If that is the response to a person who is seeking some form of help and support in their very sensitive situation, you as a public servant, right? She's working for a government agency, should not respond that way. She could have kept that thought to herself. So what I did is I wrote her. I said, because Aziza's got a demon in her that likes to come out and play sometime. Just saying, I'm a Virgo. My ruling, even though my ruling planet, my real ruling planet is planet Vulcan, live long and prosper. And we all know, if you are a Trekkie, because I am, Vulcans, they got their emotions under control, but they have it under control for a reason. So trust me, there is something in me that will lash out. And I took a deep breath and I said, so how do I, once you follow up this, how do I check? She says, oh, you can come in or you could email me a check. I said, okay. Can I have your email address? So she gives me her email address. Y'all, you want to talk about an email I wrote? In fact, I still have it. I'm going to have to read that another time too. But I let this lady know that considering the position that she is in a position of helping people, especially with open requests. People have to make open requests for all kinds of reasons. And here I am as another woman. Here I am as another Black woman coming to her with this dilemma that I have, looking for assistance to go through the right process. And her response is like, I need to hear all that. I mean, who wants to hear about? And you're talking to the survivor of all of this. I wrote her a nice email about that, told her how she should not respond to, for future reference. If anybody comes and discloses this kind of sensitive information, how you responded is not the way to go. And this is exactly why many survivors stay silent. Because of the ridicule and the judgment, and just because it's something that makes you uncomfortable, you feel like that you are entitled to just express that discomfort irresponsibly. So yeah, I went to her, and of course her response was all very apologetic, and she didn't realize and she didn't recognize, and I was just like, okay, don't let that shit happen again. In the nicest way that I could have possibly said it. So yeah. Let's see. Let's get back to some some comments before I continue more about Precious Little Ladies. How do you overcome the social awkwardness from being isolated? It was practice and again bravery. I have to tell you, there is this one book that I read called The Southern Girl's Guide to Flirting. It's something I've not been able to find that book again. The Southern Girl's Guide to Flirting, and I do not know who the author was, or I do not know now. I don't remember who the author was. That book was very eye-opening, because you would think, okay, flirting. So you're just thinking, the opposite sex, romantic involvement. No, this book really laid out the psychology of social interaction. So that is one book that I read. I knew, okay, here I was. I had these children. I was shy. I was afraid. I looked at my situation as like a project that I needed to complete. So I took different routes, but part of the routes that I took did include a lot of reading certain actually I didn't read a whole lot of self-help books, but that book specifically, I took a lot of cues on how people respond to you and why they respond to you in different ways. And that made me more comfortable, I think, knowing that I had control over how a person responded to me. It empowered me. And I incorporated a lot of that. Now, does that mean it just got rid of all of my social awkwardness? No. A lot of it, I just had to practice. I just had to put myself out there. I just had to ignore discomfort. And I guess this is where my mission oriented, sorry, I blanked for a second. My mission oriented attitude helped me a lot because, and y'all, this is a little sensitive. My father was a bastard. We can call him all kinds of things. Damien, we call him Damien. We don't even call him a swad. We call him Damien, the son from The Omen, the film The Omen. He is the son of Satan, because as we know, we can go back into Satan is actually a fallen angel who's been assigned by God to handle the bad guys, right? That's basically what it is. Who we really should fear if you're a religious person and into like some of that religious dogma. Who you really should fear is the son of Satan, because the son of Satan just wants to come and wreak havoc and lead humans astray and all of that kind of stuff. So we call him Damien. My father is called Damien. Okay. So anytime y'all hear me say Damien, I am talking about my father, the son of Satan. But everybody's here for a reason. So along with all of the evil, all of the havoc that Damien has wreaked on my life and the life of many others, there are some positives that I have taken away from my experience with him. And one of those is my ability to control my emotions. Actually, it was to control my emotions and not react to my emotions, but respond to my emotions. And that was a part of my survival with him, because he had conditioned me under such strenuous and painful circumstances that in order for me to get through to the end of the dark tunnel, I had to control my emotions. And part of that took then choosing one emotion over the other at the end of the day. So yeah, though I felt shy, though I was afraid, though I was nervous, I ignored essentially those emotions and decided that the goal of socializing, of going to the interview, of getting that job, of making that friend, of giving my elevator pitch, of, selling my book or inquiring about or getting my kids' social security numbers was more important than how I felt in the moment. And I would just push past it, ignore it, and just do what I had to do. So we're going back to that and just practice. I decided to tap into who I felt I truly was as a spiritual being and allow those personality traits to come out and interact with people. And then I studied how people responded to me and responded to who I authentically am. And the rest is history. So there you go. Carla, greetings and thank you. Crumble cookies. Okay, thank you. Let's collaborate on a children's book. You know what? My daughter said to me, Mommy, I cannot believe that you have not written a children's book already. Yeah, I'll get there. I actually have a draft of one about my daughter who is disabled. And one of my sisters who I don't communicate with anymore was supposed to illustrate it. We decided to collaborate, but you know, things happen. And she decided not to be involved with me anymore. And there it is. So I do wish that my sisters were more open to, not necessarily, I don't even think that they have to expose themselves publicly when it comes to their experiences, but I think that they could have contributed more on the back end, because even when I started Precious Little Ladies Inc., so going back to that now, when I started Precious Little Ladies Inc., I asked them to be involved. I asked them to be supportive because they are all very talented. They all have their strengths. And I thought that they could have contributed such a huge, made such a huge contribution to the mission to end sexual abuse, incestuous abuse, and gender-based violence. But they chose not to. And I respect them. I respect their privacy. I respect their healing process. However, it wasn't going to stop or deter me. And I know a lot of people actually don't end up not doing things, end up not fulfilling some of their dreams because of what their family's perspectives and thoughts are. And trust, I have and continue to have so much judgment from my family. I mean, I have cousins that talk shit about me. I've had them call me a fraud. I've, had them sit and talk about the fact that I just do what I do to make money and all of, just ridiculous stuff, cousins and cousins' girlfriends. And I'm just like, look, you all are sitting here talking about and judging me, yet the person who is the cause of all of this, no one's having a conversation and had not had a conversation all of this time. So, I would recommend to anybody, you have family members that are against you following your dreams or following what you know to be right. I always say God doesn't allow us to choose our family for a reason. So, family aren't necessarily friends. That's all. Family aren't necessarily friends, but friends can be family. So finding new family members. Finding new family members. So with PLL, I mean, even not getting support with the charity work that I do, it's just very interesting to me. And I understand that they are going through their own, outside of my sisters, with extended family. I mean, they are who they are, and it is what it is. But with Precious Little Ladies, I still let them know of the things that we're doing, the work that we have done. I'm so excited that we have some financial support, and we're growing as far as that is concerned, because of course, the more public I am, the more the need is identified, the need for our services are identified. And but it's not easy. Like, I'm only one person. Yes, we have volunteers, and of course, all of my kids help. It is a family business. And there are people that volunteers, and we are growing in capacity every day. But we still need money to continue to grow. Like right now, I do have a PSA running. We do have PLL has a PSA running called Now, and it is a series of PSA videos that essentially poses the problem if it pertains to some form of sexual abuse or gender-based violence, gives you what the impacts are, and then provides a solution. All in 20 seconds. We do this all in 20 seconds. And we have been running these PSAs on Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and in a month, we have reached over 50,000 views. So that goes to show you. And in those 50,000 views, we have at least 20,000 visits to the PLL website a week. So that kind of thing is very encouraging. Clearly, there are people that are seeing the message and need it enough to then look further, because the PSAs within itself is like a mouthful of information. But even then, knowing that there are people out there that need to look further. So going back to one of the commenters, Yeah, I really do. I hope that all of these efforts are having the impact that I know that it could have. And I appreciate all of you, my followers, my viewers, taking the time, spending this time with me to talk, hash things out, hear my stories, listen to my people in the background. I appreciate you because it is encouraging me to continue to raise awareness and bring attention to these important issues that affects all of us. If you are not a survivor of sexual abuse, you know someone, you are related to someone who have, and the impacts of that trauma has affected you in some form of fashion. The fact that domestic violence is the fourth leading cause of homelessness. All of our social issues are not mutually exclusive. They're usually caused by other things, and oftentimes, more than not, and you'd be surprised, oftentimes, historically, it's been sexual abuse, childhood trauma ends up leading to all of these other issues: drug abuse, promiscuity, prostitution, and I am, as a very liberal, sexually liberal woman, I respect how a woman uses her body. That is her choice. So, sex workers, while I am not against sex work wholeheartedly, I do realize that it is a very, very risky business, dangerous business, and that many women go into sex work because of some form of childhood trauma. I am sure if they had a choice to make the kind of money that they're making without laying on their backs, they would choose that other thing. And if they wouldn't choose that other thing, then yeah, it's definitely associated to some kind of sexual dysfunction that was more than likely caused by trauma. So a lot of our issues in the world do have to do with some form of childhood trauma. And I don't think that it is recognized as an issue. Like, there's so much money out there for food insecurities. But okay, so you keep giving people food. And yes, that's great, but you're not attacking the root cause of why they are hungry in the first place. And if you look through it, if you look into communities that are impoverished and children do not have enough food for the day, a lot of times it is associated to some either childhood trauma or domestic violence in the household. And each thing just perpetuates the other. So I have taken it upon myself to continue to have this conversation around sexual exploitation, incestuous abuse, which I know no one likes to talk about, but it happens so much more often. And I'm not talking about the severity of what I experience. I'm talking about just, an uncle brushing his 14-year-old niece's breast, or sitting her on his lap, and his, wanker, that the head with no brain getting hard, and then going through different steps. Like, there are some small things, because even outside of what my father did to me, I experienced some what I call micro sexual abuses from other family members. I had a cousin who out in Alabama that felt me up. I couldn't tell my father that shit, because then his response would not be from the place of protective father. It would be from the place of jealous man, and it would be my problem. So no, I never told him about that. I've had other, there's so much stuff, kids experimenting, whatever. But it needs to be spoken about more. And then gender-based violence in general, which is a term coined by the amazing Dr. Anita Hill, it encompasses any form of violence that is associated with a gender issue. So domestic violence falls under that. We have to consider the fact that same-sex relationships are also riddled with domestic violence. So gender-based violence really has to do with any form of sexual assault, domestic violence, anything that has to do with the power dynamic between male and female, or male and female ideologies, because of course, normally, more commonly, a same-sex relationship, there is still, I think more commonly it's called what? The bottom and the top. Arish wasn't listening. But, you know, there is usually a male and female dynamic. There is one that has more, you know, male dominating elements, and just a female dominating, a female presenting, whether that be physically or an attitude. So it all has to do with gender. So that's what we focus on. We focus on talking about it, putting the information out there, doing the research. We're doing a research effort now that studies women's ability to access services, when it comes to services that provide support or prevention services for sexual abuse and sexual assault, and their attitudes on reporting, and, you know, all of that kind of thing, because we're just going to take all of that information and it's going to fuel our program. So, but, you know, I need the help. We need the help. We need the help. We have our book, It's Okay to Tell. Actually, can you do me a favor, Boo? Can you get me one of the It's Okay to Tell books?
Where is that?
There are boxes in my room. You'll see them when you go into my room. When you just walk, you see 2 boxes stacked up. I'm going to show y'all a book that we have. And we give stuff away for free. All of this information away. Not only information, tools, resources, free of charge. Because, you know, how are you going to get this information in people's hands? Free. That's why social media is so popular, because you get a lot of stuff on there for free, meaning like information, entertainment. So we give away a lot of items that educate and inspire and support the communities for free. But we need the help of donors and people who are sympathetic to the cause, who have experienced it for themselves, know somebody, everyone to contribute to our efforts by making a donation. Boo, there are 2. No, 2 boxes stacked on top of each other. It has my green bag on it. So depending on what platform you are, you know, today is Giving Tuesday. I wish there was a way that I could put the link. Oh, well, I could post it in these comments. I don't know where it's going to show, depending on where you're watching from. Let's see. Okay. Or you could go to the link in my bio. For all my Instagram people, you can go to the link in my bio. We do. Okay, so this is the It's Okay to Tell coloring book. Right? It's a coloring book. It's a tool parents can use. We recommend that you use this, you color with your children so you can read to them and explain what they see, different techniques. Abuse is never okay. No one ever has a permission to abuse you. Oh wait, you can't see that. But it's a short canvas. It's a powerful tool that then, like this one, write about a time when you had a positive experience. Write about a time when you experienced danger. So it's a real good conversation starter. It also has different here it is. Trusting yourself. Hold on. There are some things. Helping hand. Teaching your kids to identify a helping hand. And this is what I thought was really important. Because my father, right? You would think the father is a protector in the household, right? But then what do you do when he's the predator? So in the It's Okay to Tell book, you, with your child, it's an activity where you determine the helping hand, and you and your child lists all of the people that essentially, if the parents fail, right, like the parent becomes the predator and hopefully this is supposed to be for the non-offending parent or the least likely. So we are targeting moms specifically because of the rates of abused children. You know, familial abuse children are mostly abused. 60% of reports, it is the father who is sexually abusing. If it's a family member, 60% of the reports have reflected that it's the father that's abusing the child. So this, you list out everyone with your child, people outside of the parents who they could go to for help if they are being hurt by a close family member. Anyway, so that's one of the things that we do. We give these away right now. We have been distributing in community outreach events, but we are now expanding to distribute them to daycare centers and preschools, and then get into schools. And of course, it costs. It costs. We're buying them. They're being printed. We're paying for it and then giving them away for free. So yeah, we definitely need the donations. It's Giving Tuesday. If you haven't donated to an organization, choose PLL. If you're on Instagram, I have a fundraiser going now for PLL, or start one. Start a fundraiser. That would be a huge help. I have some people that started to fundraise. You recommend us as an organization, do it as your birthday fundraiser on Facebook and on Instagram. Any little bit helps. And we are a 501c3, so all of any donation you make is tax deductible. And we're at the end of the year, it's that giving season. So if you want to give towards ending child sexual abuse, incestuous abuse, and gender-based violence. So that's my spiel about that. That's my spiel about that. Let's look at, let's see, but your mom condoned it. So now this is the thing. Okay, YouTube Academia. I think that you could use any, not just my situation, but when you look at these people like Jeffrey Epstein's, the P. Diddy's, the R. Kelly's of the world, they were never by themselves. Other people knew what they were doing. Other people enabled them. And I think it fed that ego demon. Like I was speaking about before, as far as men's desire to assert their power, part of that assertion was bringing people to your side, right? Convincing a person in your beliefs, convincing a person that what you were doing is okay, which then it was like a reciprocal. You convinced them, they enabled you. You convinced them, they enabled you. And my mom was part of that. When my father told my mother willingly of his own accord that he was molesting me when I was 10 years old, and she rolled with it. He gave her reason that it was to help my skin. She rolled with it. For him, I'm pretty sure that just gave him the okay to get worse and to do more, because he had a minion on his side that, even though she might not have encouraged it, she definitely enabled it in her silence, in her not protesting. And then the one time she did protest that I'm aware of, and he beat her, then he got her submission. And it went from there. Because even the woman, Akua Montano, his girlfriend who molested me with him before my mom even knew, he abused her as well in various ways. He abused her sexually, he abused her physically, and he abused her financially. So she had submitted to him to a certain degree. Now, remember I said earlier that studies has shown women abuse for different reasons than men, and one of the reasons is usually at the coercion of a man. Well, that was definitely the case. Now, that does not justify her enjoyment of it, because this woman enjoyed what she was doing, but it definitely gave her the okay. Him telling her to do these things to me gave her the okay, and maybe the acceptance within herself that she could then engage and enjoy this forbidden activity, which was having sex with a child. Maybe she had thought about it before. I don't know. But she was into it. She was definitely into it. And he essentially gave her permission. And she was like, okay, yeah, cool, let's do this. Had she have done that without his permission? I don't think so. I really don't think so, because the personality of Akua, she was kind of meek. She wasn't like arrogant and out there, but then again, they say you got to watch out for the quiet ones. So the human condition is interesting. We can go on and on and on about it. We can go on and on and on about it. So yeah, my mom condoned it to a certain degree. She condoned it in her inaction and in many other ways as well. I mean, my mom struggled with a lot emotionally with her relationship with my father and my relationship with her, so on and so forth. Let's see. Alexis Lee, women are very often mean and insensitive to others. Dara B, can't hear you. Okay, well, I'm guessing other people has commented. Oh, shoot. I hope you, so have I been talking and y'all have not been able to hear me? Just Domo, do you ever get tired, discouraged from telling your story? I've had my moments. Honest answer, I have had my moments. And more recently, I think it wasn't that I was tired of telling my story, because I think if the opportunity presents itself where it's necessary, I will always do it. Thank you, D Watt, for confirming. You can hear loud and clear. D Watt, is that you, David? Hi. So I will always heed the call, right? How you doing? Thank you for tuning in. I will always heed the call. That's just my nature. If someone needs help, I'm going to help them to the best of my ability. And if sharing my story, if I was to just stop today, like drop everything, if the opportunity presents itself that I thought that sharing my story would help, I would do it. I could not, like my conscience would not allow me to stay quiet. But this journey and the work that I do has been exhausting. I mean, between having to contend with family, which I have spoken about, and naysayers, people who are just so uncomfortable, they just want to cut it before it even starts, the business aspects of, the nonprofit. I've had my son tell me, he was upset. I forgot what it was about. He said to me, why couldn't you just be like a regular mom? And I was just like, oh my gosh, that kind of hurt. That kind of hurt. Like, I'm sorry, kid. You don't got a regular mom. You don't have a regular mom. But at the same time, I had to think about it. I'm like, damn, like, this is like, I am I'm his mother. I'm his mother, and he's got to deal with whatever comes along with that. And which includes me dragging Uriel to go pass out flyers at an event on the hot excuse me under the hot summer sun, when he'd probably preferred to be swimming in a pool. But I love them for their support. even when sometimes they be trying to be counter supportive. I be hearing the, mommy, but do we have to? Sometimes I've heard that. So yeah, it's tiring. It is exhausting. And I had maybe like, Arish, how long would you say that moment was when I said maybe I should just drop everything?
How long ago?
No, how long did it last?
Honestly, I feel like it lasted like a week. A couple days.
It lasted less than that because I knew I really couldn't. Like I knew that I couldn't just stop speaking out. Yeah. So no, I would not stop. Francesca Collins just watched your story. What did you watch it on, love? Betty, thank you for all that you do. Thank you so much. Love you. I can't believe the people in this world. She is. She's perpetuating the pain. Oh, yeah, she is. She is. How do you make friends in that situation? This is interesting. David, I said you were definitely kind to her. A lot of people say that. A lot of people say that. Do you? Oh, yes, I do still visit Patterson. Dude, you know I visit Patterson. In fact, I was just there for Thanksgiving. Went and cooked breakfast. What question was I answering? Was that on Instagram? Oh, tired, discouraged. So yeah, sometimes I do, and especially when it's like doors are just being shut, brick walls are just rising. Yeah, it's exhausting. It is exhausting, but I employ. Actually, I haven't employed them enough as of late. My stress management. I need to meditate more. Exercise, that definitely helps me. Exercise. That's a huge, you know what? Exercise helps me so much. And I'm sure that if you didn't know this, exercise triggers endorphins, which is the feel good hormone, right? That you might not necessarily feel it during the exercise, but you definitely feel it afterwards. And I have noticed times that I've actually had endorphin withdrawal. And I understand how some people can get addicted to exercise because they become dependent on those endorphin spikes. Because there have been times that I just couldn't make it to the gym because of my schedule. And I started to notice my energy levels and the approach, the emotional approach that I took to some of my life's challenges was just getting more difficult to manage in a positive way. And then, so I was like, let me go get on a treadmill. Yo, I felt so much better afterwards. And I realized that exercise is just a huge part of not just my everyday functioning, but also the healing process. It just became a huge part of my life. And getting those endorphin hits, it just changed, clears my head, my ideas, my brain just goes wild. I will be struggling with an issue, with a problem, with a challenge, and I'll get on the treadmill or elliptical and the solutions just come. So highly recommend. Highly recommend. Find a good exercise, whether that be in the form of a sport, whether it be dancing, treadmill, get your blood pumping. It's you'd be surprised. Once you do it regularly enough, you'll notice, not just with weight loss, not just with muscle tone, but actual mental health. Exercise helps mental health a lot, and that's one of the things that I do employ. Y'all, my voice, I think it's drying out. Let's see. Francesca Collins, how are your kids now, if you don't mind me asking? So that's kind of a complicated question. How are your kids now? Everybody is good in general. Everybody's great in general. But life is life. Life be life in. Adjustments are made. We, like any other family, have our challenges in our relationships. Certain things and certain ones I think might be associated to some of our obvious life challenges more than how they present themselves, and we navigate those things through our like family therapy sessions. I try to talk as much as possible, but raising humans is hard. Raising humans is not easy. It really is not. I can't even say raising kids. No, because even once they turn into adults, you're still raising them. And if you're close with your children, you get to see all of the effects of your child rearing, like right in your face. And that could be a total mind F. It really can be. So, but I think in comparison to many other families, especially single mom families, we are quite, and I'm proud to say, successful as a family in general. And that's not just coming from a place of, of course I'm the mom, I'm gonna say that about my kids more than likely, but I would say feedback from other people that we've been around, and even our family therapist. He's very invested. He's very invested, and he has told me, like, look, he's like, outside of what you all went through, y'all are doing very well compared to just regular families in general. So I think yeah, everybody's good. Everybody's good. Growing, learning, living life. Raising Roussel, you repeated what I said. Yes, it is. It's so hard. It's so hard. Joe, hit the gym and release stress. Yes, indeed. A good massage helps too. Let's see. Have I covered I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Someone did ask a link to donate. I did put it in the comments. It's also on Instagram in my bio. And go to preciouslittleladies.org. Let's see. I'm going to put that link too, and you could donate there. Preciouslittleladies.org. You could donate there. And yeah, like I said, start a Facebook fundraiser, birthday fundraiser. We are on Twitch. You could find us on Twitch. You could raise funds through your Twitch streaming. You could find us on Instagram, Facebook, and you could raise funds through there. Start a fundraiser with your followers, with your friends and your family. And it goes directly to the organization and to our programs. So please, and thank you in advance if and when you do that. Let's see, any final questions? Final questions. I did want to show y'all a video. Let's see. I mean, I've pretty much, all of these I've posted. So this is an example of one of our...
¿Sabías que las niñas son más probables de revelar abuso sexual que los niños?
This one is in Spanish.
¿Sabías que las niñas son más probables de revelar abuso sexual que los niños? Las expectativas culturales de la masculinidad pueden afectar la forma en que los niños responden al ser violados. Genera confianza con los niños, escuchándolos y demostrándoles que su cuerpo es importante y les pertenece. Si no lo sabían, ahora lo saben.
Okay, that's an example of one of our PSAs. And Let's see if I could find another one that's really accessible. There's one that's doing very well on YouTube, and it's actually an animation. And we're going to make more of those because it's also being played on the big screen instead of just the portrait version. Okay, I don't have it right here. Oh, okay, there it is.
Did you know that girls are more likely to disclose sexual abuse than boys? Cultural expectations of masculinity can affect how boys respond to being violated. Build confidence in all children by listening and showing them that they matter, and their bodies belong to them. If you didn't know before, you know now.
So we want to continue making more of videos like that. Get it on Hulu, Paramount, and really do a huge campaign that people will see, that could get conversations started, and any help that you could provide will help fund efforts like that. And then we have our local impact, Girl We've Got You Covered, which we have recently partnered with Thrive Cosmetics, and we provide personal care items to women escaping abuse and women who are at-risk women. And an at-risk woman would be someone who is dependent on another person financially, who lives in a low income community. Single moms are considered at risk because these people are vulnerable. So we, in combination with the risk assessment survey, so that we could better tailor not only our services, but also give insight to law enforcement and other organizations on how to approach women and children who are experiencing abuse from a cultural perspective and a more empathetic perspective. So those are just some of the efforts that we have started this year and we'll continue to work on. So you guys will definitely see plenty of videos of my presentations of those studies and information, and just a lot more coming soon in 2025. So if you are not subscribed or followed to either my stuff, I'm assuming that everyone here, you got notified of me going live because you are subscribed, but share with the people that you know. You never know who's going through something and may be encouraged or get education from the things that I speak about and my healing journey and experience. And at the very least, it will just get a conversation started between you and them and someone else. Y'all know how we like to gossip. I know how we like to gossip. And you'll be surprised at the kind of stuff that just comes out. So I definitely hope that all of you who have been supporting me, first of all, I love you for your support, your encouragement, and your bravery for even being able to come out and ask these questions and continue the conversation and listen to me go on and on and on and clear my throat and everything else that has come along with speaking for over 2 hours. I love you for your patience and all of the encouraging words and just being present and committed to this journey that I am on to just changing the world. And I hope that you continue to support me and you continue to support my work and my family, because, I think that the fact that my children and I are together, and I raised my children out of such a toxic environment, and yeah, we may have our challenges, but we have been quite successful overall in many ways. I think that's just a testament to the resilience and the ability of humans in general, Like, we can really navigate any situation, and we are adaptable. But a lot of times people don't realize that they could either change your situation, you can adapt to your situation, because even as victims, essentially you're adapting to your situation. If you're silent and you're suffering in silence, you have adapted to your situation. You can adapt to the next situation. You can speak up, get out of your situation, and it might be scary and it might be uncomfortable, but you will adapt. And you will adapt for the better, along the positive, along the healing. And I tell my kids all the time, and a lot of times when I speak, I bring it up, change isn't made in the comfort zones. And I think one of the biggest points that I do have to make for anybody who wants to heal from any form of trauma, whatever that is, you have to be prepared to be uncomfortable, because healing can hurt itself. And that's the unfortunate thing about trauma, and about trauma that has been inflicted on you, especially by someone that you love, is that not only there is the pain of the trauma, but there's also the pain of the healing. And it's unfortunate that people are put in positions where they have to suffer two types of pains. But the fact is, the healing process, it does require, it's going to hurt, just like any wound. You break your bone, that shit itch, it's sore, it's going to hurt, but you can't be afraid. And if you are afraid, you have to be brave in order to push through that fear and journey to the other end, which the freedom, the liberation, the self-love, the reward that comes with getting to the other side, it's definitely worth the little bit of discomfort that you may have to go through the healing process. So buck up, y'all. Buck up. I'm pretty honest. I'm pretty candid. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. My healing journey has not been easy, but now that I'm here, I asked a family member the other day on Thanksgiving if they were happy. And, the response, I wasn't met with, I don't know, the response was kind of all over the place, but I think they had to think, like, wow. And then he asked me, well, are you happy? Initially, he thought that my question was coming from a place of judgment. But then he asked me, am I happy? And I'm like, yes, I am, unequivocally. I did not hesitate, because I am. I do believe that when you say, well, in general, are you happy? Of course, I have my sad moments. Of course, I have my moments where, whatever. I still have a therapist that I speak to. I have to do things to cope with feelings that I'm feeling in the moment that may lean towards the negative. But in general, I have created and I have experienced enough happy moments in my life that they are now outweighing the sad and traumatic moments that I had as a child. But I had to do that with intention. I had to then create these memories and these experiences and these moments between me and my children and people that I have loved and made love to. And I had to intentionally do those things and create the moments of happiness so that they can build up and essentially allow me to just be grateful that I am no longer suffering. I mean, when you have been through shit, like fresh air, you don't know how, fresh air is really fresh. if you allow yourself a good deep inhale. So on that note, y'all, Uriel says she's your adopted grandmother now. Yeah, it's Black African Queens. I was so in touch with your story. I'm glad that you have been able to make a connection, Black African Queen. I saw something. It's nice to talk to you. Ever do a Q&A? And I would definitely like to know. I watched your story and I was so touched. So I'm putting together a webinar, y'all. So final thoughts, I'm about to take my leave, but final thoughts, I am putting together a webinar. I don't want to, let me not be premature in releasing the name, but you will know. And I think a lot of people would be able to benefit from this webinar. Essentially, it would be about, using my own healing journey as a vehicle to help inform the smoothness of your own. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. So, off topic, what makes your skin so perfect? I got some concealer on, lady. That's one thing. But people have complimented me on my skin. Look, I have asthma and my skin is very dry, so I have to moisturize all the time. So I think it's far from perfect, but thank you for the compliment.
People with dry skin have wet skin.
Really? Water? I intermittent fast. I think that I've been intermittent fasting for what? Has it been 2 years yet? Reached? For about 2 years now. And if you know anything about intermittent fasting or not, there's a lot of cell regeneration. Apparently, you've promised a lot of cell regeneration if you can do a consistent intermittent fasting schedule. And I have been intermittent fasting very, very consistently for the last 2 years. I give myself breaks every now and then, but I mean, that's really far and in between. But I mean, definitely, like if I have a lunch date, it's it's scheduled around my intermittent fasting. I have literally been out with friends and they just at a drop of a dime has been like, oh, let's go get something to eat. And I'm like, nah, sorry, I'm intermittent fasting, but y'all enjoy. So I think that I am seeing the results of it now manifesting more physically in weight loss, muscle tone, skin, things like that. So yeah, so I think that that's what's contributed. All right, y'all. For real though, remember, go donate preciouslittleladies.org or link in my bio or link in the comments. And it has been such a pleasure chatting with you all. I'm so glad I did this. I almost didn't. I had a little accident last night. It was kind of funny, also a little concerning, but I was like, I need to get some sleep. Let me possibly postpone, but I'm very glad that I did it. I pushed through and I'm glad that I did it. And for all of you that came to talk with me and ask questions and have conversations, thank you. Love you. This is what I literally was watching your story and it said you was live. This was cool. And I wish you and your kids so much greatness after all that you guys have endured. Francesca Collins, thank you so much, my dear. So Carla just returned from a call. Wow, you literally just said that. Love you too. I am going to call it an evening. Thank you again. I will be back soon. Stay tuned too for the webinar. I'm going to start putting that together, getting the process together, and hopefully you all are interested and can benefit from it. You'd be able to, I mean, this is live stream, it's kind of one-on-one, but a webinar would definitely have it would be more personal. Plus, I have some good stuff for y'all to watch in the webinar. So get ready. You might have to sign an NDA before you join it. Oh gosh. Looking forward to more content. Thank you, my dear Carla. Dr. Carla M. Sewer. Email me. Let's talk about that children's book. All right. Peace, love, blessings. Be blessed, for you are a blessing. Thank you again. See you soon. Bye.